All Good morning, everyone. I am thrilled to welcome you to today's spotlight on Bentley's MBA program. I am Emma Emmer, Executive Director of Strategic Programs here at Bentley, and I am joined by three amazing colleagues who are going to help us piece apart the experience within the MBA from the curriculum to outside the classroom, and kind of after as well. I would love for my friends on the line to introduce themselves to you before we jump into our content because I think it's really important to understand who you're hearing from because these are the experts. And so I would love to start with Dr. Iris Bergero, and I'm hoping, Iris, that you would be willing to introduce yourself to this group.
Thanks, Emma, and welcome everybody to this session. So I'm Professor Iris Bergero. I'm a professor in the management department, but I'm also the director of the MBA program and have been at Bentley for 30 years. My expertise is in global management, do some other fun stuff as well, but really happy to talk about the MBA program.
I apparently don't know how to use my mute button. Iris, I am thrilled that you are here. We are also joined by the amazing Tajay Edwards. And Tajay, I'd love for you to introduce everyone. And I will say, this is showing incredible connection to Bentley because Tajay is on the West Coast and is joining us, which means it is 6 a.m. his time to have this conversation, which tells us something about how connected he is to his Bentley community. But I would love for you to introduce yourself. Tell us what you did here while you were at Bentley and then what you're up to now.
Thank you for having me. Welcome, everyone. I know it's probably people from all over the world listening right now, so welcome. Happy to talk about my MBA journey at Bentley with you and just connect with my colleagues. It's been a while. I'm Tajay Edwards. I graduated Bentley in 2024 with my MBA as well as my MSBA. While at Bentley, I had the opportunity to serve on the grad council. I was voted president of the Graduate Student Association, so I could have, organized a lot of events that engage graduate students as well as the entire community, outreach. I had the opportunity to be engaged in all the efforts from the Graduate Career Development Center, and so many different resources that I'm sure you'll hear about as we continue this conversation. Um, yeah, I'm just excited to be here, and you'll learn more about me, and as well as the others as we continue. So I'll just keep listening.
Wonderful. Glad to have you, Tajay. And Sean, if you could introduce yourself.
Absolutely. Good morning, everyone. My name is Sean Johnson. I'm one of the current assistant directors of grad admissions here at Bentley. I work mostly with incoming MBA students and, of course, STEM MBA students as well. It's a pleasure to be here and, of course, give you guys some great information about applying and, of course, also the application as well. Thank you all for having me.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much to the three of you for being here. As I said, I want to spend most of our time talking to these folks about the entire experience within the MBA program, as well as how to apply and how to finance your education. But before we do that, I want to talk about two things. First and foremost, I would love for you all to use the Q&A function here in Zoom to let us know what you're curious about. So while we're talking, if any questions arise, we will either answer them in the Q&A or we'll have verbal Q&A towards the end of the session. So we would love to know what you're thinking about. Don't hold back. And then the second thing I want to do is just root our conversation in some key facts about the MBA before we have a kind of in-depth conversation with both Iris and Tajay. And so one thing I want to talk about is what makes Bentley's MBA distinctive and different. And here today, we're talking both about our full-time MBA and our full-time STEM MBA. And I'm certain Iris can help us differentiate between the two of them. But what I think is really important for us to be thinking about is a couple of things in the MBA. First and foremost, I would say Bentley's programs and the MBA as our flagship program is a perfect example of this. Infuse a number of really important, very unique and authentic to Bentley themes within our curriculum. So, throughout the MBA, you're going to be thinking about doing good business. And again, Iris will help us kind of unpack what we mean by that. But here at Bentley, we don't just focus on profit for profit's sake. We don't look at business just through the lens of kind of monetary gain. We're really thinking about ethical leadership, sustainable leadership, global leadership. And I'll be curious to hear Tajay's thoughts on how that's kind of shown up in his career path and where he's gone next. We also here at Bentley have a real focus on technology and the evolution of how technology is intersecting with business. And so you'll have ample opportunity in our programs to think about that. Whether you choose a really specified STEM track that is, you could do a STEM MBA with AI specific focus, which obviously a lot of your focus then will be on how the kind of integration of technology is influencing business. But even if you chose an MBA with a leadership track, Bentley is so focused at that intersection of technology and business that you absolutely will be thinking about how business is changing. Another thing I want us to really think about here when we're talking about the MBA is to really think about what I think the MBA forces you to think about what your goals are and how you want to apply them. Tajay spoke earlier about his use of the Graduate Career Development Office. We'll dig into that deeper, but our MBA students are really directed and motivated and supported by Bentley's resources and our network to find the right path for them. And we really want you to be thinking about as you spend time in this session, what is it that's driving your MBA journey and how can Bentley support you in getting there? And so, with that, I really want to start our conversation with Iris and Tajay so we can dig into all of those ideas of what is an MBA, what is an MBA at Bentley, what does that mean for your experience, and then finally, what does that mean for what happens after you're here? And so, Iris, I would love to start with you, and I'd love for you to talk about, to your mind, many institutions offer MBAs, but we believe ours is truly distinctive and is meeting a particular business moment that we're in. I'm curious, how would you explain what Bentley is doing here that's different and what sets our graduates up for such success?
Yeah, that's a great question, Emma, because it is a very competitive landscape. And I'd like to back up for a minute and answer your first question, and that is just what is an MBA? And I have one. It is the degree that I use every single day in my career. And what an MBA does is it gives you an overall perspective of the organization and how an organization functions, whether that is a Fortune 100 for-profit mega global organization, or whether it is a nonprofit or a government organization, any collective that is trying to accomplish something. An MBA gives you an understanding of that entirety, how it works, and how the pieces function together. And then, regardless of your hierarchical or functional position within that organization, how can you affect positive change? That's what an MBA gives you. The reason that Bentley is uniquely positioned to offer an MBA is because we are not just a business school. We are a university within a business school. All we do is business. And so but we are a full university. So we have access to the arts and sciences in our business programming. And that means that we can do some really creative things. I was stepped into a class last week taught by one of my colleagues. He is teaching about sustainability, and he is a geologist. And the first thing that he did was spend time explaining what is science and why should a business person care about what is science. Because if you're going to be leading an organization that is interested in sustainability, you may not need to understand, explain entirely the planetary boundaries or chemistry, but you do need to work with the people who speak that language. And you need to be able to help them engage and accomplish things in ways that you may not understand. But you have to take the managerial and leadership role of being able to facilitate those functions within the organization. And the other thing is that Bentley is very grounded in not only the arts and sciences, but in particular in ethics and social responsibility. As a business school, we have the oldest Center for Business Ethics in the United States. We think maybe in the world, but that's a little harder to figure out. And that has been part of our DNA since we were, the first built the business school and the graduate curriculum here. So we're very vested in this dual perspective of the arts and sciences and business, and that gives us a unique capability. We can draw faculty from arts and sciences, from philosophy, from history into our business classes and bring that to the student experience. So I'll pass it over to Tajay to talk about what does that then feel like when you're actually in the programs.
Absolutely. I think Tajay, that's the perfect question, which is like, how did you notice that when you were here? Was it part of the reason you chose to come to Bentley? What drove you to come here?
I'd say I was fortunate enough to get a chance to spend a weekend at Bentley before I enrolled through the Discover Bentley program. And while there, I was able to sit in a classroom, get to soak in what it's like to be in a Bentley classroom with actual students. So a real class. So I got to sit in to see, how a class is ran. And I saw how innovative it was. So you could be anywhere in the world and still be engaged. And it's really something that is prioritized. So you can see it in the professors' actions, how they go lengths to make sure that everyone is engaged, whether you're virtual or in person. And I just saw how the material that was being covered could take me somewhere. I sat there and I'm like, I had these ooh-ah moments when I'm just listening and seeing how the materials that are being presented or, setting you up for a career beyond, or giving you the skill set that you never had. And it took one class for me to see that. So it opened a window of imagination of what I could achieve or the skills that I could gain when I'm actually there full time. So that's one of the things that propelled me or encouraged me to be a part of the Bentley community.
That it's so interesting that you say that. And I think I want to go even deeper into this classroom learning experience piece because I do think, Iris is talking about our philosophy on how we integrate different disciplines, and Tajay is talking about how does that show up in an actual classroom. And Iris, I'm going to brag on you for just a second because I'm pretty privy to a course Iris teaches in our MBA, where she's been so similarly to what Tajay is talking about, thoughtful about integrating different kind of disciplines in order to make sure students are thinking about an issue from a lot of different lenses. So Iris teaches a global management class where one of the things that I find most fascinating is she, just as she was preaching, brought in a professor from the modern languages department to talk about how people can experience bias due to their accents. And what does it mean for global teams to be in a multinational conversation and potentially be facing bias or kind of how do you collaborate within the bias you might hold? And I think, Iris, I'd love for you to talk about, why as a faculty member do you make the decision to kind of expose our students to things like that? And then let's broaden out and talk about how are we building in a moment like that or in the curriculum more generally, kind of business fundamentals alongside these higher order skills within the MBA.
Sure, Emma, thanks. I love that example and I love that course. One of the things in global management, one of the biggest issues is getting a global workforce, people in the right place at the right time, with the right skills. And that requires us to work with people who are different from us. And in the textbook, that sounds, very logical. Okay, here's the model of how you do that. But in practice, it is very challenging. And so what I did was I actually brought in the linguist who talked about accent bias. But then in the next class, I brought in a consultant who has 20 years of work experience with helping immigrants to integrate into a workforce. And what are the challenges of doing that? And then we talked about, okay, how do you now, as a manager, build something into your organization's policies and procedures whereby you can take what you've learned and experienced and build that in. And it's really important to move from the concept to the application. And the only way that you can do that is to more fully immerse yourself into the experience of the issue or into the experience of being in a certain context. And so it's really important in the classes, and we do this across many disciplines. I have many colleagues who are bringing in folks from completely different disciplines to engage people in that way. One of the things that was really exciting in the STEM MBA program, we have an AI track, an AI major. And I just saw a new course proposal come through yesterday, ethics and AI. And that came from somebody in the philosophy department. And they will be teaching this in the STEM MBA program. So things like that are just really exciting. And we can not only do it, we have the DNA. That's just what we do. That's great.
Absolutely. And Iris, I'd love for you to take that. And then, Tajay, I'm going to come to you and talk about this in more depth. And let's broaden out and just talk through how someone can specialize within their MBA. So I'm going to put on our screen our curriculum. And Iris, as you mentioned, we have both the MBA and the STEM MBA. In the kind of bright blue, I've highlighted the STEM MBA majors as compared to the concentrations within the traditional full-time MBA. I'd love for you to talk a little bit about how are we creating foundations for folks in business? What do we think is a business core and how do you navigate that? And then how do you have choice within a set of electives and your kind of major tracks? And basically, how do we specialize here?
Sure. So we understand if I think about the pipeline of folks coming in, we understand that not everybody has a business undergrad or is has been may have been working for a number of years in the business world. And so formal education has been, more than 5 years ago. And so the first thing that we want to do is give everybody the opportunity to level set to the language of business. And this is what the foundations do. And they basically give you the fundamental tools by which to understand how organizations function. So this is where stats, econ, marketing, accounting, and financial analysis come in. And you can, if you have a business undergraduate degree from an accredited university within the last 5 years, you may waive out of those. If not, we give you the opportunity to take those so that you can get that level set. The core, everybody takes the core. And it is the same for all of the programs. And these are really the essential things that everybody in an organization from a business perspective needs to understand. And so everybody takes these courses. And then you have options. Then you can tailor your degree. And this is where, if you are really interested in STEM, the 4 majors for the STEM are what you would take, where your options lie. Or you can take, if you're not if you're not in the STEM MBA, you can take one of the other concentrations, or you can put together your own set of elective courses that you want. And so you can tailor. And I will say for the STEM MBA, we have ensured, and this is governed by Department of Homeland Security, and there are pretty strict regulations on what can be a STEM. So science, technology, engineering, and math, at least 60% of the program content has to fall under those categories. And so we've made very sure that we deliver on that requirement. And so if you are in one of the STEM majors, obviously you have an interest. We tend to focus more on science and technology. We don't have an engineering school, although we do also have a mathematics department. So I would say science, technology, and math would be our focus points. If you are in the regular MBA and you want to really dive deeper into accounting or finance, or do our leadership in the accelerated online modality, you can do that. Or if you say, you know what, I think I just want to broaden out my perspective and I'm going to spend my electives on a range of topics. And we have elective courses across, I believe there are 8 departments, so you can choose from hundreds of electives courses that are offered across your program.
Thank you, Iris. Tajay, I'd love for you to talk a little bit about how you specialized within your program. And I know you made a choice of actually doing a dual degree. So you did an MBA and you also did a master's in business analytics. I would love for you to talk about within the MBA space where you focused, and then also tell us why you chose to add business analytics on top of that.
So in the MBA space, I focused on leadership. And that's one of the things that I wanted to hone in on, just my leadership skills and what skill set I would bring into my prospective company. And during that, I got to learn so many different things. And that's one of the beauty of being in an MBA. It broadens your perspective in ways that you wouldn't have imagined prior. And it goes down to even things like, what are your values? What are things that you're going to look for in a company, culture, fit, and so many things that made you, not just want to be in any company, but want to be a company that aligns with you and what you stand for, your goals, your priorities, and because this is something that you'll end up working for, hopefully majority of your life. So you want to make sure that you're being set up for something that is going to serve you in terms of development, not just personally, but professionally. I remember even something I could recall sitting in the classroom and I think it was leading responsibly. And we were going over different companies down to how they even have meetings. And I was looking at a certain company who had the fishbowl setting meeting. And, I was having the conversation with some students and we're like, would this serve the person I am or how I communicate, certain things? And a lot of people liked it. And some people decided then and there, like, probably this culture doesn't fit me because I like one-on-one meetings where I can communicate my feelings. I don't like a setting where I'm in a circle and people are just staring at me. I don't feel comfortable sharing my full experience or how I'm genuinely feeling about how we're operating or how we're not collaborating or whatever is going wrong in the company. So even down to that, you're looking at everything. And that's one of the things that I really appreciated, that we're not just looking at metrics and, just outcomes in terms of numbers, but in terms of cultures and different company, what are some of the strategic things that you need to look for to make sure that you're strategically aligned with the right company. So that has been something that has been worthwhile for me. And while I'm taking those classes and also delving into the analytical space, I was able to take some stats class as well as I can't remember the exact course number, but we covered R in that class. And while I was, working with the R program, I found that, I do have that analytical capability. And I started liking how I could transform real time data into stories of, how a company handles certain things or how the world is, where we're headed in the world. And that is something that can not only shape your skill set and how you look at things, but also prepare you for things to come once you graduate. And it gives you a perspective on how you can tackle different challenges using tools like R and SQL and Tableau to tell a story of what you get from the data and how you, because everyone thinks differently. Everyone handles situations differently. So if you have tools to guide the way you're thinking and to tell your story and to present what you're thinking if in an effective way, that is something that can set you up for success. And it has truly helped me to get to where I am right now. So if I could give one advice is whatever you're doing, just take it in and soak it in because you never know when it will show up or when that skill set will be needed. Because I was surprised when I was doing interviews and it was recalling things that you know, learned in the classroom or things that I've experienced in the classroom that set me apart. So, yeah.
Taji, that's so important. And you actually are pointing to a number of things. So, number one, we're going to talk a lot in just a few minutes about how this experience does set you up for your career. And I think you're pointing to something a lot of our students speak about, which is really important, what we in kind of education would call experiential learning experiences in the classroom set you up for really great career success. But Iris, that's what I want to dive into next is we throw around the word experiential learning, and a lot of people who don't come from a business school experience or even at the undergraduate level maybe don't understand what a graduate level business classroom looks like. And I think Tajay's examples of his Leading Responsibly class, where they're really grappling with the cases of different companies and where they fit, and hands-on experience with something like R or SQL or Tableau are really indicative of the experience here. And so I would love, Iris, for you to explain, what do we mean by experiential learning and how does that show up in an MBA program, particularly here at Bentley?
Yeah, sure, Emma. And Tajia, I love that example that you used of Marcus Stewart's leadership class. One of the things, if you have a strong value, you need to build that into your infrastructure. And Bentley has a very strong value of close interpersonal learning, hands-on learning. We have small classrooms. We, even before COVID, none of our classrooms held more than 35 people. And we cap our classes. In fact, for many courses, the class is capped at 25. And so it's a small learning group. And that allows for interaction. It's very interdisciplinary. Our faculty don't lecture. Many use cases, many use examples. If it is lecture, it's for a very specific purpose. And so we as faculty have spent a lot of time learning how to teach in that environment. What is that learning environment? How do people learn? And how do we best facilitate that interactive, engaged learning? So it's part of our mindset. It's part of what we are taught and encouraged to do. Our structure supports that. And then what happens in the classroom, Tajay, you talked about using R and through that discovering that you actually have an affinity for taking data and telling stories, right? That's a philosophy, a mindset that's very different than a traditional accounting, finance, for-profit, grow kind of mentality, right? And it then comes through, for example, many of our courses will use what we call action learning projects, whether they are part of a travel course, which we can talk about as well, or whether they are done virtually with project partners. And these are action learning projects are not consulting projects. They are what I call co-learning projects. And so teams of students work with project partners in other countries. I had students working with partners in Peru. I know we've got colleagues taking students to Sweden, to Japan, and the intent is that as a team, you work with either an NGO or a company on a specific challenge that they have. You learn something about them and you co-create a solution and present that solution to them. So it's hands-on learning. We have VR labs where students go into a virtual reality. We just had students going in a sustainability course, and they were actually put into earth, fire, wind, and water environmental crises to see what that feels like, right? What does it feel like to be in the middle of a fire? If you are sending firemen in there, that's a good experience for you to have so that you can best manage what they need, right? And so we look for opportunities to continue to expand our capability. And one of our most exciting initiatives right now is a major investment in a building renovation. And the building is sort of the holder of what is the most exciting piece. And that's what we call our TIE initiative, Technology, Innovation, and Entrepreneurship. And that is really going to facilitate programming and experiential learning that really dives even further into innovation and entrepreneurship and giving students the opportunity to step into those learning spaces.
Absolutely. And Tajay, I'd love for you to talk about kind of what is that relationship between yourself and your classmates and your faculty member in these kind of hands-on learning experiences. As Ira said, philosophically, that is our focus. I'm curious, how would you describe the culture of the classroom and what is your relationship with your faculty members and your fellow students?
I'd say it's such a broad tapestry of cultures, ethnicity, different, parts of, different, um, I'd say like where you are in life. We talk about networking so much, but sometimes you're networking in your classroom because people come from all over the place. They're on different, either in a different phase of their career. They've come across people that you're looking to come across, companies that you're looking to work for, and sometimes the conversation starts there. Sometimes you're working on a project, and that's when you start to value like the myriad of different elements that make each of us unique, and whether that's professional experience, whatever it is, but you're able to pull that together and bring something so useful, something so beautiful, and it brings something out of you that you didn't even know you had, or teach you something that you wouldn't have known otherwise. So sometimes you're not only learning from your professors or the different tools that you're using in the classroom, but also from your peers. So take that, and that's the beauty of grad school and MBA program is you never know who you can come across. So that's one of the things. Also, I think because of that element of people coming from different places, different parts of life, you get mentored within each other too. So you're able to help each other, even with tools like R and SQL. I wasn't the biggest user of those programs before Bentley or those tools, but you have peers who have been using it professionally in their day to day, and you get to really pick their brains and work together to develop your skill set in one area while they're taking something from you. So it's always shared effort between students, and it's very collaborative, and that is something that you'll find very useful and like a main ingredient that will set you up for success post graduation. So, and the professors, I They probably all know me so well because I like to make sure that I'm getting as much as I can from them because they're giving it, and they're willing and they will let you know quickly, email me if something is if you need something, or office hours is I didn't even know office hours and stuff like that would exist in grad school. I think we'll be on our own. I think that it's something you've grown enough where you don't need that. But no, it's something where you're being taught, you're being fed everything you need for success post graduation from the moment you enter until even after you leave. I can still reach out to a professor today or reach out to a resource on campus for support, and I'll get it. And yeah, that is something that I find very admirable and very useful from my journey at Bentley.
Absolutely. And I'm gonna brag on Iris again for a second, which is really gonna embarrass her. But when we think about the faculty relationship, the grad school, Iris, maybe 6 months ago, did a post about Iris and said, can anyone say anything about the experience of having Iris as a faculty member? And there were students from Iris 15 years ago writing that going on a global immersion trip with Iris was the most meaningful thing they did at Bentley and totally changed their career path. And Iris was like, I remember this student. I never knew how totally meaningful this was, but her willingness to really spend her time with them and be a full person with them and really learn, co-learn with them was clearly so important. And so, Iris, I would love, and ma'am, we have too much to talk about today, but I would love for you to talk about those global immersion experiences as an example of how our faculty show up for our students and live and learn alongside them. Before I'm going to make us talk quickly about outcomes and careers, and then Sean, I promise, I know you can't wait to tell everyone how to apply. We will get there after that. But Iris, if you could talk a little bit about global immersion, that would be wonderful.
And you just let me talk about my favorite thing, and then you put boundaries around it. I'll be quick. So we have global business experiences, and it's a 3 credit course, but it's a travel course. So the courses are offered in January, March break, and May. And basically, what you do is you sign up for a course where you are interested about the content and maybe the location. So in my case, I teach a course on decision making for the sustainable environment, and we travel to Scotland. There is another course that goes to Japan on, I believe, ethics and technology. Um, and so if I take mine as an example, it is a full 3 credit course. So there are readings that you do beforehand that are around the topic, the area of expertise and for that course. The travel is entirely arranged for you, and the cost is so you pay the tuition for a 3 credit course plus the flight. And for that, all of the travel arrangements are made for you. You travel with the class, and you basically spend 7 to 8 days. If it's May, it might be 10 days in country. And what you do in country is visit companies, visit cultural things, do social things together. But you're basically living with your class and your faculty member, and you're learning more about that topic of the course. So, for instance, in mine, decision making for a sustainable environment, we go to a distillery, Scotland, that has just been voted Scotland's most sustainable company in the entire country. And then we go to St. Andrews Links. Golf was invented in Scotland, and so we go to the home of golf, and we learn from the park rangers there, the national rangers, how they manage sustainability on the coast of the North Sea, where the environment can be quite unpredictable and nasty. And how do they sustain this iconic environment And then we go up the coast a mile to a national park where the park rangers there talk about how they deal with the fact that the environment changes their shoreline every year. And so these are the kinds of things that you do in these courses. And then you come back, and typically you have two assignments, a research paper and a reflection paper. And often you will engage locally with partners in these action learning projects that I talked about before. But in that process, you're not in a classroom. You are having breakfast with your faculty member. You're sitting on the bus with your colleagues. You are in the evenings doing social things and fun things. And through that, you're conversing and you're learning more from other people about the things that you were experiencing. And I think I've run these for 15 years now to many countries. And I'm always blown away when I see a student and it just pops for them. Something just clicks and they're like, oh, wow. And those moments give me chills because I think, okay, we've done something right. And so I highly encourage people to take these travel courses. They're all very different experiences, but they're so powerful.
No question. And I think the power of this, whether it's in a travel course, whether it's in the experiential learning that you're doing in the classroom, whether it's in your connection to other students. And Tajay, I cannot believe we have you on the line and we haven't gotten to talk about GSA and the student experience, and we're not going to have time and it's going to kill me. So we're going to have to bring you back so that you can talk about that. Because we basically have Bentley royalty here from our perspective. Although maybe I shouldn't equate a president with royalty right now, so I'm going to not say that. Um, so, but I guess I'm curious, Tajay, if you could tell us a little bit about your job search. We have some students on the line that have shared with us that they're really curious about what it means to launch a career after this, or pivot their career, or accelerate their career. And so I'm curious, what resources did you use to find your role that you're in now? And how did Bentley set you up to figure out what it was that you wanted to do next?
Mhm. I'm not gonna say the job search is gonna be easy. It's not. But what I'm gonna say is that at Bentley, you're gonna have a lot of resources to make the journey to get there easier for you, and more worthwhile. The first thing I noticed when I started at Bentley was how important it is to the community and the faculty and the staff at Bentley to make sure that you're equipped for the job search and your professional development post-grad. The first class that I took with Rig was the career development intensive. And that was eye-opening because I thought I had a great resume. I thought my resume was ready to go. It was good. But after being in that class and seeing how, a good format and different things that companies look for, and just hearing from experienced people who have been there, I noticed it needs work. And I was able to, through that class, get my resume to somewhere that started getting me noticed. And that was, I never really cared about doing a lot of internships because I volunteered so much before that. And that was like my summer thing. But when I started Bentley and I developed first worked on my resume and I started applying to internships, it started working for me. And I felt like I was moving, I was finally moving and elevating, and I was able to get offers for internships. And I was able to intern at Santander for the summer. And not only did I do the internship, but the internship came with a course. So you're able to have conversations with other students at Bentley. And it's very mixed. So you're talking with grad students, undergrad students in your area of study who are doing internships as well. What are you learning? What are your takeaways? What are prospects for other students? What is their experience so far? And we're able to just, dissect everything that we're experiencing in our internships. And it not only opens the eyes of other students who are probably looking at that company or probably looking at that type of role, it just elevates how you think about different companies, and you get to learn so much about different companies from your peers. So you're getting fed with data about, companies and resources that you'll eventually you could use yourself could target in the future. So that was very important to me and very good. The GCD is very good in how they also help you to propel in your career. We had career conversations where people, whether it's alum or just people from some huge companies, just sitting at a table with a bunch of students, we're just surrounding them, just giving them just rapid firing questions, and they're willing to answer and willing to connect with us, whether through LinkedIn or just giving us resources where we can find job opportunities or even reach out to them to have one-on-one conversations. We have sessions where alums come and they have a table with their company, their name, so if they're in a company or in a field that you're curious about or interested in, you just go to their tables and have conversations with them. And things like that, you have so many different opportunities to connect and network with people and learn about different companies that potentially could shape your future. So all of that was just so worthwhile and so important for me. I remember after my internship, I received an offer, but then I was told that, they were at some hiring freeze and something had to be reconstructed, reconfigured. So I was with an offer, then not with an offer. So I had to pivot. And, I was talking with the Graduate Career Development Center all throughout that, and just staying motivated and learning of different situations that have happened like this, and how to navigate that experience, how to trust my skill set and the things that I've learned, and how to utilize it to set me apart from others in a part like this, where that is very important for me. As an international student, you're always on a time crunch. So it's important to make sure that everything that you're learning and you're soaking it up, and also making sure that you're doing things that align with your skill set and the things that you're passionate about, because that is what you're going to be able to speak on. And experiential learning, that is why that is very important to me. And that's one of the things that I valued from my experience, because that are some of the things that I could speak on. And eventually that is what landed me my role. Because I remember when I was in my final interview, I went through so many different rounds for this job. And my final interview, they asked a question about, you know, and it was one of the simplest questions, but also one of the most difficult questions, because you don't know what they're expecting. I did data analysis from round one all the way to round three, but the final round they asked me, if we're asking you how many people come through an airport a day, how would you go about solving that? And I quickly, I don't know why, usually I was stuck. I will be stuck. I will stutter with something like that. But automatically, I compared it to this global bikes exercise that I did in my, I think it was my global strategy class, where it was a simulation where we're able to see what is the maximum amount of bikes we can sell at a certain unit to get a certain profit. And I was able to remember the different steps that I went through in that simulation to guide how I thought about getting to the end result of this particular question. And they were very impressed with my response. And then even after debriefing, they asked me, what are some of the things that I've used in the past, or classes that I've took that guided, and I was able to talk about that. And I was just, it was one of those moments where you're glad that you soaked that in and you really lost yourself in that exercise of solving that issue and putting yourself in that simulation as if it was something happening in real life. So yeah, just soak in the exercise and then really delve into the experiential learning aspect, because that is something that will play out in your professional life.
Tajay, I know you told us about your internship and your challenging moment of, I thought I had a job, I didn't have a job. Where are you now? I mean, I know, but I'd love for you to tell everyone else where you are now.
So I'm a analytics associate at Prologis. It's one of the largest real estate investment trusts in the world. We operate globally, and we just hit over 1 billion square feet of solar rooftop energy. I'm a part of the energy team, and I'm so fortunate to be a part of that goal. Ever since I've been here, I've been doing so many different great things. I'm the owners of so many different resources that the executive committee uses to make decisions. And right now I'm being trusted as one of the analysts that they can depend on to provide accurate and useful data to make meaningful decisions. So one of the things that I recently worked on was a resource that they can use to track different rooftops around the world and see what rooftop is eligible for solar panels and meet all of our requirements. We have strict requirements before we deploy solar. So that is something that I'm very proud of. And I'm excited that, what I've learned and all the skills that I developed through one day deciding from taking just tiptoeing in some analytical courses, deciding, you know what, I want to add that degree too to my MBA.
Nice.
And that led me to just broaden my skill set and be able to tell stories from data. So my MBA coupled with my MSBA, the perfect pairing to not only utilize data but tell meaningful stories that can be effectively communicated to different groups.
And Tajay, talk about good business, right? This is a large real estate investor that is focused, your work is focused on solar energy. And I think that actually is the perfect encapsulation of the way a lot of our students think is, hey, how am I going to tell great business stories, but in a space that's going to make the world a better place? And that is just fantastic. All right, Sean Johnson. Sean is one of the fastest talkers I've ever met. And we are going to leverage that today in order to talk about application requirements, financing your education. But before he starts, I want to say Sean has put in the Q&A, and we can put it in the chat as well, our email box. And we really welcome you bringing us your individual questions in the application process. We're going to go over the big picture now, but please keep talking to us if you don't get all of your questions answered during this quick overview on how to submit your application to Bentley. All right, Sean.
Fantastic, fantastic. Thank you for that warm introduction, Emma. Yes, I just put that in the chat as well for all of you wonderful people in the audience, but let me get started. So yes, for our application requirements, we would of course request, an up-to-date resume from you and also a LinkedIn profile if you do have one. Going from there, we do require one recommendation letter. Please know this could be from professional or academic, sources such as, current coworkers, current managers, prior coworkers, prior managers, but also prior professors, prior instructors, totally acceptable for this requirement as well. Going from there, we do require one application essay. You will see different essay prompts within the application itself, so please pick whichever question you feel you can answer the best. We are looking for between 300 to 500 words, and that information is also written on the prompts as well. Also, we do have an optional personal statement, which I always encourage students to submit if you do have some extra time. Myself as well as my team, we love reading about you students, of course, seeing about your motivations for pursuing graduate studies, and of course, what kind of led you down this path as well. Going from there, we are test optional for the GMAT and the GRE. So please know without these test scores, you will not be negatively impacted in any way, shape, or form. These test scores can be used to, of course, strengthen a profile and, of course, boost you up, giving you a higher chance of being admitted and also a higher chance of receiving a higher scholarship as well. But as I previously mentioned, please know you will not be negatively impacted in any way, shape, or form without these test scores. Going from there, we do require an English language test proficiency test for our students who are international, coming from, countries that are English is not the predominantly spoken language, or if your undergraduate degree was not fully taught in English as well. A few ways to get around this English language test would be, of course, if your country if English is your predominantly spoken language, or if your undergraduate degree was fully taught in English as well. Going from there, we do require, of course, official transcripts from all the universities that you have attended. And if you have graduated outside the United States, please know that we do require an international transcript evaluation. This evaluation will be, of course, we would accept this evaluation from any NACES approved member. The most commonly ones we do see in our office would be WES, World Education Services, ECE, Educational Credential Evaluators, and finally TEC, which is known as the evaluation company. And finally, if you are going for the full-time MBA or the full-time STEM MBA, please know that there is a short interview requirement as well. It's more or less kind of a 30 to 45 minute, conversation, with one of our admission staff. It's a great opportunity, of course, to meet with us in a one-on-one setting, talking about your work history, academic history, collaboration skills, as well as, of course, leadership potential. And yeah, these are all the application requirements for our regular MBA as well as our STEM MBA as well. Um, Going from there, of course, going for a graduate program is not only a huge personal undertaking, but also a massive financial undertaking as well. I'm happy to let you all know that we do offer merit-based scholarships here at Bentley that are fully merit-based and not need-based. So they are based on the full strength of your application. So of course, all those requirements that we just spoke about on the previous slide, combined of course with your academic history, work history, collaboration skills, internship experience, all that great stuff. Happy to let you all know that 85% of our students do receive merit aid, and I always recommend applying earlier on in our cycle to really maximize your chances of receiving a higher merit aid scholarship. And yes, our application deadlines. So we are coming up to our round 3 deadline, which is February 1st. So if you're still working through your application, still, a few days to get through it to make for that round 3 deadline. But if you're not, of course, near there, no worries at all. Happy to let you all know we do switch to our rolling deadline after that February 1st deadline. But if you are an international student and an F1 visa seeker, please note that your last day to apply is June 1st of 2026. But if you are a domestic student or a SEVIS transfer student already here in the US, please know that you have up until August 1st of 2026 to get that application in.
Sean, you did it. I'm very impressed. So we have one more minute, and so I want to first thank Iris and Tajay for being here and sharing an incredible amount of information with us. You really made this program come alive. Thank you both so very much. For those of you on the line, I know you have more questions. In fact, I see some really good personal questions in the chat, which I'm sure Sean will stay on and make sure to answer. But I really welcome you all to use that inbox that Sean is suggesting to get in touch with us so we can continue this conversation. There's lots of ways to continue learning about Bentley, and I do want to just throw on the screen and show, I really want to push you, if you're able, particularly to check us out on YouTube. And the reason for that is we have some great sample classes there that can help you understand what is happening in the MBA. There's one taught by Iris on global management that I would really suggest you seek out. And there's another one about leveraging creativity for innovation that Professor Andy Aylesworth teaches that, again, I think is a really fabulous class to get a sense of who we are. The last thing I'm going to suggest here in the middle is to set up a consultation. That's a way you can speak one-on-one, either with one of our admissions officers or a current student about our programs. And I think both give you a really excellent opportunity to let us get to know you through your application process. I saw a wonderful question in the Q&A asking, hey, will Bentley support me through the application process? It is a resounding yes. Both Iris and Tajay talked about that kind of co-learning that happens here at Bentley because we have a personal relationship with you from a faculty to student perspective, student to student perspective in the classroom. That starts in the admissions process. So we are here to support you as an individual through that. If we do need you to let us know what you need, but certainly once you do, we are here to be your partner and your guide. Thank you so very much for joining us this morning to hear about this spectacular program. I look forward to getting to know you better as you reach out. I know Sean feels the same way. And we look forward to seeing your application soon. Thanks, everyone.